You ever walk into a room where everybody's talking about God, yet somehow God is nowhere in the room? Like the more they say his name, the less you feel his presence. And I hate to use the word hate, but I hate rooms like that. And if you felt that, that's not blasphemy. That's physics. That's consciousness. That is spiritual dilution. Because here's a truth nobody wants to say, but I'm real happy to say it for you. When too many unconscious people aim themselves at God, the signal gets weaker, not stronger. You see, the collective doesn't amplify God. The collective is selfish. It amplifies itself. And when the crowd becomes the authority, nobody wakes up. In fact, everybody falls asleep. So hold that truth and hold that tension, because it's the hinge of everything we're about to break wide open. Like, you ever notice that crowds make people louder, but not wiser? More emotional, but not more conscious, more certain, but not more awake. Because that's not human nature. That's the spiritual physics of the collective. That right there is one of the most dangerous forces on earth. So here's the system logic. When individuals approach God without awakening, they don't rise into him. They project themselves onto him, and that projection becomes contagious. Because here's the dangerous loop. One unconscious mind projects a false idea of God. Another unconscious mind agrees. Agreement becomes identity. Identity becomes dogma. Dogma becomes institution. Institution replaces consciousness. And now consciousness collapses. This is why religions become political, culture becomes performative, spirituality becomes branding, morality becomes mimicry. And watch this. God becomes a mascot. Because the collective approaches God without individuals becoming conscious first. And when the collective worships without awareness, it doesn't expand God, it distorts him. You see, expansion requires resonance, but the collective operates by agreement. And agreement is cheap. Awakening is expensive. Agreement creates crowds. Awakening creates leaders. Agreement dilutes God. Awakening magnifies him. Think of it like this. You ever see a crowd get emotional at a rally, a church, a concert, and you can't even tell what they're worshiping? For sure, it's not God. It's their own projection of him. You see, false idols aren't statues anymore. They are collective ideas with no consciousness behind them. So in that way, a crowd doesn't seek God. A crowd seeks permission. And the moment you seek permission from the collective, you're already asleep. So let me give you the brutal mechanics. The collective, this society we got brewing everywhere, has one job, and that is to preserve itself. Not truth, not God, not consciousness, not freedom. Just itself. So now when an individual starts awakening, when someone starts hearing their own frequency, feeling their spirit, remembering their identity, the collective sees that as a threat. And why? It's because consciousness breaks conformity, and conformity is the collective's oxygen. Watch how this works. Because this is why families attack the one who grows. Religious communities shame the ones who evolve. Workplaces punish the ones who thinks. Social groups exile the ones who awaken. Political tribes smear the one who questions. Culture crucify their saviors. The collective doesn't elevate the consciousness, it eliminates them. That is, of course, until their death becomes useful. Then it rewrites their entire story. Sounds egregious and far-fetched. Bet. Why don't you ask Jesus? Ask MLK. Ask Socrates. Ask Galileo. Ask every prophet society killed. The collective doesn't awaken through individuals. It awakens after individuals are gone. Unless the individual refuses to die in silence, unless the individual becomes a frequency, unless the individual becomes constructive interference in a sea of destructive waves. And this is where your revelation comes in. The self must rise toward God first so the collective can remember God correctly. But, and a big but, when the collective rises toward God without awakened selves in it, it collapses into unconsciousness. That is the paradox. That is the hinge of civilization. That is the missing doctrine. You see, when the individual collapses into the collective, God disappears. When the individual rises inside the collective, God reappears. This is the unspoken law. God requires individual consciousness before collective worship is safe. That is the doctrine our world forgot. So here's the architecture. The individual, maybe that's you, approaches God through consciousness, through awareness, through resonance, through remembrance, through BYB, BGB. And this right here produces a pure signal. As my brethren would say, puro, real puro, baby. Then the second thing that happens is the individual's frequency strengthens, their identity stabilizes, their ego dissolves, their spirit rises, their signal becomes coherent. This right here produces authentic power. The third thing that happens is the individual's coherence elevates the collective. But watch how this works. Not through teaching, not through preaching, not through arguing, through resonance. You just be. This produces collective expansion. The fourth thing that occurs, the collective's expansion magnifies God. Not through performance, not through repetition, not through tradition, rather through energetic coherence. This produces true worship. This is the divine loop. Awakened individuals, awakened collective, magnified God. But we built the opposite. Unawakened individuals, unconscious collective, diluted God. And that's the sickness you are seeing today. So let me ask you something real. Has your faith been personal or just inherited? Has your relationship with God been conscious or crowdsourced? Don't get uncomfortable. Has your identity been sovereign or shaped by the group you fear losing? Has your awakening been rising or glitching under collective pressure? Has your spirit been hearing God or hearing the echo of everyone who claims to speak for him? And if you're struggling trying to figure it out, you will know the difference the moment you sit still long enough to hear your own frequency without the crowd's interference. So let's bring this in close, because everything we just opened, the collective dynamics, the false idol loop, the dilution principle, the sovereign self model, none of it means anything if it doesn't change your next decision, your next environment, your next conversation, your next boundary. Because see, philosophy without action is ego in a prettier outfit. So let's operationalize it. Let's turn awakening into architecture. It's that time, baby. Time to do you. So let's do you together. 5 moves, 1 consciousness. Faith meets functionality. Let's start with disrupt. Break collective influence. If the crowd thinks for you, you're already asleep. Disrupt that. Wake up. Interrupt the noise. Then you want to own it. Claim your consciousness. You cannot expand God while abandoning yourself. Your sovereignty is sacred. You need to own you. Then you want to yield. Align with source, not society. Harder than it sounds, I know. Yielding is not surrendering to the collective, it's surrendering to God. This is where ego steps aside and spirit steps forward. Then you want to observe, identify false idols. What are you worshiping without realizing? Is it approval, tradition, belonging, comfort, fear, group identity? We could do this all day. But you want to observe it because observation dissolves idolatry. Then you want to unleash. Become a frequency, not a follower. Your awakening is not for applause, it's for resonance. You lead by vibrating in truth until the collective reorganizes around you. That right there is your divine assignment. And that right there are your 5 moves. That's 1 consciousness. My beautiful community of influencers. In our final moments together, let me be a reminder. The world doesn't need more believers. It needs more awakeners. Individuals who rise so the collective can remember God again. Tune your signal. Guard your sovereignty. Break false idols. Rise as the frequency the collective forgot it needed. Rise to your influence. Bring you back. Bring God back because you own it. Or be owned by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.